All right, my friend Andrew Carr is here. We did this last year, our kind of yearly golf new courses we played and travel recap. One of my absolute favorite people to talk golf courses with. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, sir, for having me again. I feel need to address the immediacy of the background. We are in an alternate venue. Had some internet issues, so thankfully we're able to sort this through. So apologies for the very cubicle background.
I'm right on your level. I had difficulties with my microphone, so we're both slumming it today. Do not worry about it one bit. And as of course, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the golf courses that we loved, we've got to talk about the Internet Invitational, right? That's the real reason you're here.
Yeah, yeah. That's
I'm
that.
just kidding. We need to spend zero amount of time on
Thank you.
that. So basically what I like to do with you, what kind of similar to what we did last year, is I kind of gave four questions where what was the best new golf course that you played in the past calendar year? So a golf course that, it could be centuries old, but a golf course that you saw for the first time in 2025. A golf course that surprised you the most. Maybe your expectations were low and it blew you away. A disappointment for you, and I want to be very clear about disappointments because I don't like to get into the business of ragging on any golf courses, let alone ragging on great golf courses. And the golf course that I'm going to share as a disappointment is a top 50 to 60 golf course in America. Sometimes the weight of expectations can play an extremely powerful role in analysis of a golf course. So I want to caveat that my disappointment, when we talk about disappointment, maybe it just didn't live up to our sky high expectations, but for all intents and purposes, could be a phenomenal golf course to you or anyone else. And then the final question is, what golf course have you thought about the most? Which I think is, for me, a little bit of a distinction between best, most interesting, most underrated for you. But I find myself sometimes thinking randomly about golf courses that I played 6 years ago. And I don't know, I can't always put my finger on why that is, but those are kind of that's kind of the layout of the pod. Does that sound good? Any other things you want to discuss before we dive right in?
Well, I do want to address that we failed, at least to play together, Spy Ring.
We
We
did.
failed spectacularly on that. So let's make that happen this coming season.
The fault of mine, I would probably say this was a really I guess I can start with this by asking you like a general recap of 2025, because my 2025 was, I'm proud of myself in like that I still saw a lot of really cool stuff, but I logged about half of the rounds that I logged in 2024. And I probably played some of the worst golf that I've played in a while. Now, I can forgive myself for that. It was my first year launching a company. I was woefully unprepared for that. Made a lot of new hires heading into 2026 that hopefully should clear up my schedule a little bit. I moved. I'm still in the thick of wedding season. Between 28 and 35, you just get hit with a bunch of weddings. And so it wasn't like it wasn't a great year for me in terms of what I saw or how I played compared to 2024 and 2023. But I saw some golf courses that absolutely blew me away that I'll talk about in a couple minutes here. But how did you feel about 2025 as a golf year for you?
I pretty much told anyone that would listen that I played really bad golf at really great places.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw quite a lot of good stuff. One of the courses that we're not even going to get to touch upon quite a lot is Peachtree Also got to see Palma Valley, so a little 1-2 from Trent Jones. They are not going to make an appearance in the questions, but that kind of, I think, will speak to the quality of some of the stuff I saw this year, and maybe stretch myself a little too thin on some travel stuff. So I'm being a little more intentional with 26, but do have Iowa scheduled, so pretty excited about that.
We can even at the very end, we can talk about like our goals for 2026, or if there's any new stuff that we already have planned or are really excited to see. But I think without further ado, let's just jump right in.
Let's see.
Why don't you start the guest as always first? I mean, what was the best new golf course that you saw in 2025?
So with the caveat that I did see Peachtree, I'm going with Bel Air Country Club.
Okay, wonderful. Because this was a top 3 choice for me, and I'm glad we get to talk about it.
Yes, I was just blown away with the property. I mean, the thing that I typically appreciate about especially older courses is some of the longer views that you're afforded across the property. And there are some long views at Bel Air, but obviously with the routing through the canyons, it's really not that heavy on the long views. And I know we touched upon it on the last time with the compression and release. And I felt, even though I don't love trees on courses for the most part, that boxed in feeling of being on the third tee box, hitting down to that green, I got up to that tee box and just loved it. Absolutely loved it. The thing that is still shocking to me is the tunnels that didn't exist when the course opened. So these people were climbing from the 5th green to the 6th tee, going over that mountain. I mean, the fact that it survived anyone joining.
Did that big giant like compression extension bridge that takes you between your 10th tee shot and the green, was that always there?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I really should. It's a great question. I need to find that out, because I wonder how they traverse that, because you're really walking over the 18th green.
Right.
So you would have had to swing kind of a good bit around to the right. I think the topography would have supported that. But still, without that suspension bridge, I mean, just getting from tees to greens on that property is a challenge. The fact that they were able to make that work, get the technology in place to bore out the tunnels. Well, I think it was more the money initially to get the tunnels done, and why they weren't done at the beginning. But, it really speaks to the quality of the course, that people were willing to endure those walks to continue to play there.
Yeah. Bel Air is majestic, man. I played Bel Air for the first time this year as well, despite having lived in LA for a decade. It was always my white whale. I mean, I played plenty at all the other LA places, and Bel Air just always eluded me. I didn't know anyone from there. And actually, you made that introduction for me, and I had the most tremendous day at that golf course. I mean, even just walking through, first of all, I think in comparison to, I think Bel Air always gets talked about in the context of Riviera and LACC. And that makes total sense. They're all George Thomas. They all kind of elevate above all the other golf courses in Los Angeles, were built around the same time frame. And I don't know if Bel Air is the best golf course of those 3, but it's certainly the golf course I would want to be a member of the most. And again, Riviera and LACC, those are championship golf courses. I love both of them dearly. They're both really, really hard. And Bel Air is very hard in aspects of it, particularly like the back 9 is significantly harder than the front, in my opinion, which would be like maybe my only criticism, if you could even call it that. But Bel Air is charming, man. Like, there is a sense the second you walk through those doors, there is a camaraderie and a warmness in that grill room that reminds me of like the Los Angeles version of Cal Club, whereas LACC, I love the people at LACC and I love the people at San Francisco Golf Club, but you're still kind of walking on eggshells there. Whereas you walk into Cal Club or Bel Air and everybody's got like a giant smile on their face. And I'll actually get a very small aside. The first person that I saw at Bel Air teeing off on 10, because you have this wonderful opening of the golf course where the first tee is right there and the 10th tee is right there and the putting green is right there as well. So it's kind of this meeting ground of everybody putting together, everybody watches your first tee shot, and then you have the groups finishing 9 hitting that kind of probably the scariest tee shot on the entire golf course on 10, like a 230-yard par 3 over a giant ravine. And the first person I saw was Steph Curry. He's hitting his 10th tee shot. He flushed it, by the way. And I was just like, oh, this place is really, really cool. But I never felt like, and this is due to my host. I mean, I never felt like I needed to walk on eggshells or I wasn't accepted there. I felt immediately comfortable in that culture. And I felt like particularly traversing the back 9 of that golf course, like you mentioned, really, really walkable and really, really enchanting when you're kind of deep in that back 9, kind of in, it's not a forest, but you feel very enclosed and removed from society. Whereas at LACC, there's all these views of the Los Angeles skyline. And at Bel Air, you're kind of trekking almost through the woods.
Well, it does. It feels a lot more solitary. You're down in the canyon. You're going between canyons, and you just have that sense of almost privacy. I mean,
Yeah.
You look up and you see the massive homes, especially towards the back 9, and it's not like you're completely private there. But it is a very strong contrast with some of the open places like a Garden City or when Old Town opens up, or honestly the first tee at Piping Rock. Like, you just feel you never get that sense of scale, but I don't think it's worse off for that. I think it's managed by the vertical the vertical setting that you're in, because almost the entire course you're kind of walking, you're looking up at everywhere and around it. I don't know. I can't get over people walking up and over that hillside. And, I mean, obviously the tunnels are fun, and, it's a really cool engineering accomplishment to bore through there. And, the game that they play, what is it? After 16, you're rolling the ball on your walk from 16 to 17 tee, like a golf ball toss race. Like, it's just the whole, you said it perfectly. The culture of that place is just instantly comfortable. Yeah. And it has every reason to be extremely, not off-putting, but very much tense. It has the reason to feel like, ooh, I'm at a place. And the entire club absolutely does not feel that way.
I couldn't agree more. Anything else you want to touch on Bel Air before I give you mine?
Yes. Well, I mean, we can't talk about Bel Air without talking about the May West hole and the restored mounding.
Glad you brought that up.
I mean, seeing the before pictures, not before, but before the Doak restoration of the May West hole, it's just, how did anyone think that was a good idea to get rid of that mounding? I mean, that is brilliant. And, not that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the course, but there was another course that has a very similar, arguably even slightly more extreme version of the May West hole. And that's the 17th at Wyandotte up in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Sure. It has a very similar, Charles Banks worked on it. And in addition to having that kind of mounding, it's a punch bowl green. So if you've not been up to Wyandotte, I really recommend it.
This is why I bring you on for this stuff. I would have never thought to make that connection in a million years. That's brilliant.
It's a fun hole, but I mean, both of them are, but it's that whole idea of it being hidden behind something, when the land could actually present a clear look at it. I think it's well executed.
There's a lot of variety on the golf course too. Like, there are a lot of tee shots where you really do feel like you have a lot of room. I want to say is it 16 or 17 where you do kind of emerge from the forest a little bit and you have a giant, is that 16 or 17?
16 is the par 3, 17's the
It's 17.
dogleg.
Yeah, it's 17. Where it feels like you have such a wide open canvas to hit your tee ball, and then it actually turns out that's one of the toughest approach shots and greens on the golf course. But there was a really nice balance, I felt like, where the golf course wasn't claustrophobic at all, but it was artful. Like it was the best. It was the best possible. You don't ever question once whether this was the best possible use of the land. Like it felt very intentional to me, and it felt like this is what they had to work with. And there's some holes that par 5 on the back with the stream on the left, I found very challenging and like a very uncomfortable and claustrophobic tee shot for me. But then it's balanced out well by the fact that like if you hit a good drive, it's a reachable par 5. And I found that so often on the golf course where, and George Thomas, like, I mean, it's no different from the way I often feel at LACC, where it's like he puts these things in front of you that are like almost, I'm thinking about the first hole at Rustic, where it almost feels like optical. And I know he didn't design Rustic. Shackelford kind of talked about how he's a big influence though. And he puts these things in front of you that make you feel a lot more intimidated than you actually should be. And then you find out by taking on that intimidation, you often have so much of a better angle to the green. And Bel Air is like full of that. Like it's such a fun golf course to like hit less than driver and experiment with different things off the tee. I could play that golf course every day.
Totally agree with you. And it's just, I think that's, without getting too into even all of the nuance that we're talking about, at the end of the day, it's just a fun place to be. Fun. It's a fun place to play. I mean, I really would never get tired of going around there. Truly. It's just enjoy. That's what golf should be. That feeling to me is what golf should be.
Couldn't agree more. I think the golf, I mean, it's really difficult for me because I kind of narrowed it down to 3 golf courses for me that I saw for the first time that elevated above the rest. And they were Bel Air, Cal Club, and Sleepy Hollow. And
seem to be lagging.
And do you have me there still? So it kind of came down to 3 for me that elevated above the rest. And I would go back and forth depending on the day about which golf course I think is better. It's very hard for me to differentiate between these 3. Bel Air being one of them, Cal Club the other, and then Sleepy Hollow. And I think like if you're really, I love Cal Club like to death. Like if that's and I've been able to see it now more than once. I have more familiarity with it than the other 2. But I think I want to talk about Sleepy. What surprised me about Sleepy, and you and I both, Rainer McDonald aficionados, we both love piping in the creek, amongst others. I'm pretty much like in the tank for that style of architecture. Like I really, really enjoy template holes, for better or worse, when they're done. I mean, it doesn't even have to be on a great piece of land. Think about how flat a golf course like Chicago Golf Club or even Piping Rock is. And I think what I love so much about Rainer McDonald is they can make very, very flat, mundane pieces of property with very limited views, like a Chicago, for example, really come to life in a way that is hard to imagine that too many other architects would be able to do. What surprised me about Sleepy was a really, it was kind of a grand, like rolling property with a lot of hills that I'd seen pictures of it. So I kind of knew that a little bit, but the upper golf course a lot of it is like really playing up and on this giant hillside that's overlooking the Hudson River. And you kind of start playing away from the Hudson River. And then you go down into this valley and kind of you're in this back section where there's a little pond and you play that little par three over the pond. And then you start working your way back towards the Hudson River. And you have a phenomenal 15th punch bowl hole where you first start to get a glimmer of the Hudson. And then there's that famous highly photographed hole, the short par three, short hole with the big thumbprint and the green. But I was really blown away by how like dramatic the terrain at this golf course was. And I could talk a million more things about like some of the templates that I thought worked really, really well and were special compared to other versions of templates. But have you ever played Sleepy? What are your thoughts on Sleepy?
I have. I love it. I love how it wanders right around that shoulder,
Yes.
that high part of the ground, and then you kind of backtrack down on the Redan, and then work your way back towards the pond and around. It again cuts to that golden age architecture kind of restraint in not going straight out to the Hudson, where I think a mid-century architect probably would have. There's the view. Let's go right to the view. But and I understand it was a disjointed routing accomplished over 2 architects, 3 maybe. But still, the instinct was you see it, you go away from it, you come back to the water. And I just think that dramatic finish is worth avoiding that coastline in the beginning. And, the Redan, when I played it, it wasn't as firm. So, I mean, a downhill Redan, I can only think of Yale's as the other one. I don't know that plays quite as well as, say, Piping Rocks or Creek's reverse Redan, but the grandeur of that hole, I think, makes up for it. Maybe it doesn't play as well. It doesn't feed the ball quite as dramatically as on other Redans, but still, you walk off that hole and go, wow, that was impressive. I love the whole place.
Yeah, I've heard speaking to the kind of multiple architects that came in at different times. I haven't played it prior to when Gil came in. But the member I was playing with talked about how Gil really like brought kind of the flow of that routing back to life. And you can really see it. I mean, it's a really fun, kind of adventurous walk where I try when I play a new place outside of my prior knowledge to not read too much about it, just like not reading reviews before seeing a movie. And even in all the pictures and all the stuff that I had read and heard about Sleepy, I was still pretty surprised and pretty blown away by that piece of property. And I mean, you speak about it way more eloquently than I do. The restraint of that routing is like such a good point that I didn't even think of at all when I was playing the golf course until you brought it up. But it really does create, almost in the same way we've talked about the creek, the grandness of the reveal comes to light in a way that I don't know if another architect would be able to navigate. I mean, I'm kind of cheating here because I'm transitioning us into asking you a question about Cal Club. So I clearly have a burning desire to speak about that golf course a little bit too. But I posed this question to one of my golf group chats, that 2 guys I was just doing a podcast with yesterday, actually, and who are very well traveled, have seen everything. And I asked them, I said, do you think Cal Club is the most impactful renovation / restoration ever? The case is, from everything I've heard, this golf course was an afterthought in the 80s and 90s before Kyle Phillips came in. And now it is a bona fide top 50 golf course in the world. you're the perfect person to ask. Like, can you think of any renovation, restoration that has been more impactful to the way we think of the golf course than what Kyle Phillips did at Cal Club?
Well, I've not gotten out to Cal Club yet. It's not for lack of effort. I know I know a member that we've been talking about getting out there. It's just scheduling. But I think your point's valid. And I think the contrast to Sleepy Hollow is probably number 2 in that discussion,
Yeah.
because even when, I don't know if you've heard the podcast with Bill Murray talking about how Sleepy was before Gil came in, but a lot of the accounts were not dissimilar than what you're talking about. I think just because of the depth of membership and the proximity to a lot of other great courses in the area, although you can make the argument with Cal Club as well. I think that Sleepy was probably closer to its potential that it exists today than Cal Club was back in the day. So I can't think of any course in America that comes close to the transformation that Cal Club has experienced. I mean, Old Town, it's not as dynamic, but Old Town is certainly getting the recognition it deserves by continuing to climb up the rankings, and the work that Core Crenshaw did there under the help of Dunlop White III, who has been just an absolute saint for that club. That's certainly another one, but I don't think either touch what happened to Cal Club. I really don't.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up Old Town because that was the exact answer that my friend gave as well. That's another place I'm dying to see. I mean, the the only the only other ones that I could think of is that I feel like the Medina number 3, really more of a renovation than a restoration. Like I talked about this on the last pod I do. There's really 5 new holes on that golf course, and it really did need a facelift. Like that, it seems like for all intents and purposes, the work that was done there by OCM is phenomenal, and it will be on the world stage for us at the 2026 President's Cup. So I doubt I'm going to be able to see the place before the President's Cup, but we'll at least have an opportunity to see it on television. But I agree. I think like it's when I think about Cal Club and the world list just came out and it was like 45 in the world. And I think it's in the low 30s, maybe high 20s in the US. Didn't bat an eye. Um, and yeah, I mean, I can't wait for you to see it because I know it's the type of place that you're going to love. Do you want to talk about an underrated golf course for you that you saw in 2025?
Absolutely. So an underrated golf course, and this kind of I think this one is not going to have quite the meteoric rise that Cal Club. I think that's kind of in a league of its own. But Scioto Country Club really surprised me. It not that I should have come in with any low expectations. I knew it was regarded as a solid Donald Ross, but like you, I didn't really do too much research ahead of time. And what Andrew Green did there, I mean, that 5th green, I could putt there all day. I mean, it's not a Sitwell green. I was corrected on that. But it's like a waterfall is I think what it was referred to as. There's so many tiers and nuance on that green alone, and it's the perfect place to show somebody who's like, yeah, Donald Ross and his turtleback greens. It's like, besides making Bradley Klein want to jump through a monitor when hearing that, it's a perfect example of what Donald Ross is capable on it. It's not that it's a boring site. There's some land movement, but he got every bit out of that place. There's some water features that don't feel forced. It really works its way around the outside of the property in the beginning, and it's just, when I see a place like that and know that Jack Nicklaus grew up playing there, it just scratches my head. I just scratch my head in like, he didn't learn anything from that place. Nothing. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. I mean, so it deserves a better recognition than, I think it's somewhere in the 80s per Golf Digest, and probably in the 50s Golf Week Classic. I don't know where it is on Golf Magazine, but I just walked off that place and said, I wish I had time to go around again. I need to get back there. It was a lot of fun.
Not to step on your potentially most disappointing, but was this the same as the Muirfield Village trip?
I may be tipping my hand. Yes.
Yeah, I will tell you right now, my most underrated is a Donald Ross golf course as well. And I mean, to be fair, I think if I'm answering the question of what golf course kind of almost unexpectedly blew me away the most, it would actually be Country Club of Scranton, as you know. But
Thank
my
you.
expectations for Country Club of Scranton were actually a lot higher than this place that I'm going to talk about because you had spoken so warmly about Country Club of Scranton. I think it's having a little bit of a moment this year, almost in the same way that I felt like happened for Creek and Cal Club, where Lynx Gems is tweeting some pictures about it. I feel like you're doing your best to get some more architecturally inclined people out there. But I feel like I would not be shocked if we saw it inch up towards a top 100 US ranking, which I think it's more than deserving of.
Well, thank you. I think when Brian Schneider's done with the bunker work, undoing the Marsoff saucers, I think the course will present itself a lot better. But the greens are just, I truly, and I'm completely biased in saying this, but I can't think of greens I enjoy more than the Country Club of Scranton's. I really can't.
Yeah. They're I mean, truly, there's a million. 18 is wild to me. Like, I still think about that 18th green. Like, that's a perfect example of, I just haven't seen that really anywhere at any other golf course. And I find myself having that experience quite often. Whenever I play Travis in the limited Travises that I've played. The golf course I was going to bring up as surprised me the most was actually Country Club of Buffalo, which, have you played there, Andrew?
I have. That place is wonderful.
Country Club Buffalo is really good.
Yes.
And I think it gets the volcano hole is, I think it's the fifth hole. It's a par 3 that gets photographed quite a bit. I've never seen a golf hole like that in my life, but I would not limit the golf course to like talking about that one signature hole, because I think the way that it, particularly at the beginning of the back nine, I really, really like the 10th hole. And then there is, I want to say it's either the 11th or 12th that plays across this awesome quarry. Do you know the longer par 4 that I'm talking about?
I think you're right. I think it's 12.
Yeah, I think
the halfway-ish house is over near there.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, there's like this really incredible middle 5-hole stretch of golf in that property between, I think, 10 and 15. It's actually the 11th. I wrote it down, and it's like this very dramatic approach shot over a quarry. And I don't know, like some of the Donald Ross courses for me that are thought of as like second tier Donald Ross courses feature a lack of memorability to me at times. And this golf course really resonated with me. I mean, even in comparison to like Oak Hill's West course, because Oak Hill's East course has become such a Andrew Green championship style golf course, whereas the West golf course is more of like an old school Donald Ross golf course in kind of the spirit of the Country Club of Buffalo that hasn't really been restored or anything like that. And while I think that Country Club of Buffalo would do well with a restoration and certainly some tree removal, particularly on like 16 is just kind of like really clunky, and 17 with that pond, I don't really understand what's going on there. So I do think it would benefit from a restoration, but I actually don't want it to ever look like Oak Hill's East Course. Like, I hope it doesn't get, and I love Andrew Green. I think he's amazing at restoring golf courses, particularly that are going to be played by professional golfers. But this golf course is so old school and so charming. And the locker room is like super iconic with guys in, the locker room attendants in a tuxedo giving you pretzels. What a wonderful place. Like, I really hope that maybe they remove some trees, but that so many of these holes stay exactly as they are. I love the place. I was completely enamored with it.
I completely agree. A chainsaw for a short-ish period of time is all that place needs. There's a few trees, there's a few clusters of trees in the beginning part of the routing as well.
Yes.
That just, I think takes away from probably what existed of more views of that quarry, because it's more, I don't want to say central in the property, but it definitely plays a pivotal role in that routing. And I love that place. It does feel like you're stepping back in time. And the moment you walk into that front door, that foyer is one of the best in golf.
It's gorgeous.
I mean, tremendous wallpaper, mural, like the furniture from, colonial times. Like, it's just, you get the sense throughout the entire time you're on property that they know what they have. They've had it for a long time, and they're not about to change it for anybody. And it's amazing.
Do you know what I also hope that they restore? This is not a part of the golf course, but do you remember how they have like that old trolley that
Yes.
takes you up from the 18th hole directly to the bar? It's non-functional right now. Like, you can't use it right now, but the track is still there. How cool would that be if they restored that trolley? And so, golfers could take a little trolley up directly to the bar that overlooks the 18th green. The 18th green sits at the bottom of this, I don't know, rock wall, limestone formation. And then the bar kind of sits right on top of that, overlooking the 18th green. And they used to have an old trolley back in the olden days when the club first started that completely corroborates what you said about feeling like traveling back in time. It's just, it's such a, it's such a wonderfully, I used the word charming before with Bel Air, but you have such a sense of place there, and such a culture there that I was not mentally prepared for, but was completely overjoyed with. So I can't say enough great things about Country Club of Buffalo. It's about 45 minutes from Oak Hill. There's a lot of great golf courses in that area in Western New York, but I would make it like just as much of a priority to see Country Club of Buffalo as I would Oak Hill. Do you want to talk about disappointments now? This is the part of the pod where we start getting a little controversial.
Yes. So maybe, it's unfortunate because I think what I'm about to say is probably expected, but I genuinely went into going to Muirfield Village with an open mind. I wanted to see what Jack Nicklaus was capable of when he controlled land selection, land planning, course design, budget. He had no client telling him what he could or couldn't do. No home developer saying, I want to sell lots here. Essentially, he had a free canvas. Okay. So,
and an unlimited budget, probably, I might add.
I would imagine so. When he was building it, I'm sure a lot of the founding members were not terribly interested in holding him to a budget. And that's what I was talking about with the guy I was traveling with the entire way out that way, because we drove out to Ohio for that. And we both left really, really disappointed that it doesn't feel all that dissimilar than other Jack Nicklaus courses. There's not something where, if you look at the seminal works of McDonald, at the National Golf Links, or Dr. McKenzie at Pasatiempo, or Ross at Pinehurst No. 2, it's obvious that they had a solid body of work outside of those facilities, but those places are above and beyond what the rest of their portfolio is. So I was hoping that kind of would take place with Muirfield Village. And there were so many forgettable holes. I mean, like you said at the caveat in the beginning, we are nitpicking amongst the best. I'm not about to say Muirfield Village is worse than your local muni in, any part of the country. But compared to what on paper it ought to have been, I mean, naming it Muirfield and then building like an Augusta homage is just so confusing to me.
Yeah, I don't really get that either, because I don't know the golf course as intimately as you do, because I've never walked it or played it, but I break it down every single year for my day job, breaking down golf courses for gambling and daily fantasy purposes. And, um, I think it is a really excellent test for professional golf. And Jack really, really likes to dial up the course to 1,000, which I appreciate on the PGA Tour, because a lot of the time these guys don't get challenged in that way anymore. But I've always thought, when breaking down the golf course, there was kind of this really half baked Augusta influence that I didn't feel like came to fruition. And maybe that's because, like, if I'm thinking about, I mean, did it feel, did you feel the width of the place? Because when I think about that golf course for pros, it's such a difficult driving golf course because it's framed by such thick rough, which, as you know, is pretty antithetical to the Augusta experience.
Yes. Well, it's funny, I never really thought about it that way, but he misses the mark on both levels, in that he's not channeling Muirfield over in Scotland, and he's also not channeling that aspect of Augusta National. And it's funny, I think it would actually benefit from that. I don't know, from a scoring perspective for pros or any of that part of it, because I defer to you on that. But certainly from an enjoyment factor,
Wider corridors and
tight,
yeah,
just
yeah.
really tight. And we're amateurs. We're not, there's an upper limit to how well we can play. And I can't wrap my head around a 20 handicap going around that place.
It
It
kicked
can't
your
be,
ass, huh?
it
Yeah,
can't be fun. It
yeah.
just, there's nowhere to miss. And the other part of it is even if you try and take the conservative approach of saying, okay, well, I'm just going to pitch out so I have a shot back in. Well, that's no picnic either. And I'm not saying anything should be handouts. That's not what I'm getting at. But it's so, it's penal in a way, in contrast to a place like Pine Valley that's penal, or Garden City that has penal elements. Like, there's ways to play around and there's room at those places. Jack built a place that has no room, and the severity of penalty is the same. And also the pure green presentation. There's not a lot of contrast in the visuals when you're going around the property. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a couple of proper holes. Like the fifth hole's really solid. The third hole's enjoyable.
What'd you think of 14? I
I
wonder what
liked.
that's like for an amateur. Like, what'd you hit off the tee there?
So the first round I hit hybrid because I was trying to play reasonable. Had a really long shot in and just obviously missed the green. But then I took 3-wood on the next one and went like equal to the water. Left side was totally hosed. Managed to pitch out and get up and down by dropping a big putt, but just luck, dumb luck. It's not like a tremendous amount of skill there, but it's just, I found that hole enjoyable, even though I botched it both times. I don't know. It felt like there were decisions to make. It didn't feel like there was no room to hit it, even though I missed the playing card. It did feel like, it felt in contrast with a lot of the other holes where it just felt like you can't go anywhere, so
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one.
What's interesting about that, though, is that, like, some memberships really pride themselves on that. And I can't speak to Muirfield Village's membership, but maybe there's something going on there because it hosts a PGA Tour event. And we know how much Jack cares about scoring. But I've never understood that as like a point of pride. It kind of goes back to like the way that lists were made in the 70s and 80s, where the golf course being hard was valued higher than the golf course being fun. And that to me is like the most regressive model of architecture. Like I know that you agree there. Like that philosophy is responsible for Reece Jones and like some of the darkest ages of golf course design that hopefully we never experience again. And some memberships are just like that. Like there's a golf course in New York. I'm not going to mention it by name, but I just think it plays way too hard for its members. Like whenever I play there, it's just like such an ass kicking on the members. And I don't know. I feel like some take like a sense of pride in their golf course being super, super hard. Like, oh, like you're in for a real tough test today. And I have no problem with that sometimes. Like I felt similarly about the Ocean course that I played for the first time this year, where I got my ass kicked, but I got my hand caught in the cookie jar for the wrong reasons. Like I had so much appreciation for that design, especially as a championship layout, that it wasn't vexing to me that I was getting my ass kicked. But there's nothing worse than that feeling of playing a golf course where the difficulty of the golf course isn't really paid off, right? Where it feels monotonous. Like it feels like you're getting hit with things that aren't actually making the golf holes more fun or interesting.
Well, that's just it. It's hard for hard's sake, which I think we can both design hard golf holes, but they weren't particularly good golf holes.
Yeah.
Again, not all of them. I'm not, but the 12th is a perfect example. Okay, his desperate attempt to make Golden Bell in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I had good fortune, like I said earlier, that I saw Peachtree as well this year. Now, Peachtree's version of Golden Bell is phenomenally executed. The fourth at Peachtree is a terrific hole, and Trent Jones Sr. really did a wonderful job there. So it's not that copying Golden Bell in and of itself is a problem, because obviously we love ideal holes. The Redan at so many different places. I'm not offended to see another Redan. So it's not the fact that he attempted to copy it. It's that he did such a seemingly poor job. There's no contrast in the coloring and the landscape behind the hole like exists at Golden Bell, and the green's just too slid down. Like I don't know, it's like a kindergartner.
It murders the best golfers in the world every year too.
It's undoubtedly a hard hole. There's no doubt about it. But it just looks awkward standing on the tee, and you know what he was kind of trying to do, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times he's nipped and tucked that place, I don't know. It is absolutely a solid facility for touring pros to be challenged. It's just not a place I want to play regularly.
Right.
In fact, I don't know that I ever want to play there again.
And it actually it fell out of the world list this year, which actually I don't know if there is a Fazio or Nicklaus golf course in the world top 100 anymore. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think the Fazio submission would probably be Wade, which I do really love. But I mean, Muirfield would be, unless there's like a tropical, potentially Mexico golf course with some really incredible views that I might be missing, because I know Jack's done a ton of those resort courses. But yeah, I think we're kind of moving forward towards a consensus that there may have been some better things both recently in, kind of the post Sandhills kind of return to minimalism era. And then of course, with the reclamation through some wonderful restorations of a bunch of Golden Age places too. I'm going to get us back to the Golden Age, and this may surprise you because it surprised me. This is the first Rainer golf course that didn't stack up to me. And I want to be very clear about the weight of expectations playing a role here. This golf course is rated by golf.com as I think 52nd in America, I believe higher than Creek and Piping.
I know where
I
you're going.
didn't I I didn't see it with, is it Yeoman's or Yeoman's? I want to get the pronunciation right as well.
Yeoman's Hall, as I understand it.
I didn't see it with Yeoman's Hall as much as I do with other Rainers. And again, it's impossible for me to have a bad time playing a golf course with that style of architecture. But if we are talking about the standard of comparison is Creek, Piping, Sleeping, Camargo, maybe St. Louis, getting into like a NGLA, obviously at the top. It was a very flat piece of land, and flat I sometimes really, really enjoy. Um, like some of my favorite golf courses of all time are dead flat in Garden City and Chicago Golf Club. But there needs to be like a artfulness, I think, to pull off a really flat golf course with no views that Chicago kind of nails on the head that I didn't really totally experience with Yeoman's. I felt like it wasn't as dramatic as Chicago. Like Rainer was definitely not. There's just a lot of drama at Chicago in terms of the green complexes, and I felt Yeoman's were a little more subtle and subdued. Not again that's a terrible thing. There's a ton of stuff I love at Garden City that's subtle and subdued, but I just felt it to be lower on my list than like some of the top 100 Rainers. I didn't think it had that mix of topography with like drama in the green complex. It kind of just fell a little bit short for me in both of those categories. And I have no problem with this being like fringe top 100 in the US, but there are a lot of Rainer golf courses that sit pretty comfortably outside the ranking list. And I don't actually, to be honest with you, like a good example of this is Country Club of Charleston is like its neighbor. And I mean, Yeoman's is thought of as like the premier spot in South Carolina. And I thought Country Club of Charleston was like just as solid to me. Like, I don't understand why there's such a big gap between those two places in the way we think of them. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on Yeoman's? I don't know if you've been there before, but have you heard that before or what have you read about Yeoman's?
I've heard that. I've been there, and I have been to the Country Club of Charleston as well. And I agree with you because I think some of the built-up features at Country Club of Charleston are more dramatic.
Yeah,
I mean,
like that.
the reverse Redan is just
Exactly.
it's I could live on that tee box. I mean, that's just awesome. I think the problem for Country Club of Charleston in that direct head-to-head comparison is there's probably a few less memorable holes
Yeah.
than Yeoman's Hall. But Yeoman's, I think, just lacks the boldness that I think you and I appreciate more at a place like Creek or with Sleepy Hollow. So, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with you to flip Creek in to Yeoman's place. I did love it, but it's absolutely on the more subtle side.
Yeah.
I felt the knoll there was a real standout.
Yeah. Well, what hole number was that?
Was that 12?
I thought it was closer to like 16, but I could be getting that wrong.
It's been a good bit since I've been there, but
yeah,
I thought that hole was a real standout. I enjoyed the punch bowl. It's not as dramatic, but I think everything there is a little more subdued. I wonder how much of that is just kind of the design over time getting softened. Because
the golf course played pretty soft too.
Well, that as well. I mean, it gets a serious amount of rainfall, depending on time of year you go. I mean, when we were down there, we played it in December a handful of years ago, and there was such a flood event. We thought for sure we're not getting out. There's just no way. We'll have to come back. And amazingly, that place did drain.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like coastal flooding issues and that place drained. But to your point, because it's so low lying, yeah, it's gonna. It. I was more saying that some of the features I think have been softened over time as well. And I know Renaissance has been working there. I forget who is doing the consulting there, but it doesn't sound like a place too dissimilar from Buffalo that has kind of settled over time. But I think with Rayner's boldness, I don't know. I would love to see some of those features a little sharper.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, again, we're nitpicking.
We're
I do love the
nitpicking.
place. I
Yeah,
do love the place.
we're nitpicking. We're not gonna come on here and say like a golf course that nobody knows about that's like a 4 or a 5 disappointed us, right? Like
Exactly.
my expectations for Rayner and McDonald are sky high.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with like it being just a little more subdued. And I don't know. The locker room was it's a really cool place, obviously. And I bet like I could see I didn't meet like I played with a junior member there, but it definitely has an aura to it. The entrance is the entrance is really, really special. And there's definitely a very cool energy going on there, an appreciation for the history there. I just don't think the actual golf experience matched that for me a little bit. And that's probably due to its ranking and my love of other CB, McDonald, and Rayner courses and my expectations. But do you want to finish us off with the golf course that you've thought about the most over the past year?
Well, this is an easy one because we talked about it last time. Timber Point. Shortly after our pod release last time, there was an announcement that there's some works of restoration kind of bubbling in the county. I mean, there's nothing official yet. There's no architect selected. There's no plans taking place quite yet in a construction drawing bidding process type of thing. But those things are starting to get in the works. And I was fortunate to walk with one of the architects under consideration, the original routing. And man, that place could be so good. It really can. And this cuts to that next phase in the restoration movement that I know the Fried Egg has talked about a bit. And I really hope happens in that we've seen a tremendous amount of high end private golf go under the knife, do tremendous work of restoration, find the original drawings, restore it faithfully to the best of the ability, obviously adjust for the modern game as any work on a course has to account for. But we haven't seen too much of that in the municipal public space. Obviously, the big exciting one that's going to be opening next year is Cobb's Creek, down in the Philly area. So we're hoping that some more traction and momentum can take place with Timber Point. And, I personally hope that, some of the architects under consideration get the opportunity to work on it. It's a tremendous piece of property right on the Great South Bay. You'd have a real water viewed with, it's a Colton Allison design, which there's not too many of those here in America.
No.
So to have one accessible to the public on the water would be pretty wild. So, I mean, this is years in the making to get Cobb's Creek to where it is today. I am confident Timber Point is going to be equally years in the work, but there are a lot of really fascinating people that are very connected in this game that are interested in making this happen. So that's what I've spent a lot of time thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, somebody asked me the question, like, if you could build any golf course anywhere, like what type of golf course would you build and where would it be? And I would build a public golf course on Long Island. Like, I just think that there is such a demand in that area for like Bethpage. Obviously, the demand has far outreached what what Bethpage can do. And you can still get tee times there. I know like KVV's done some great work and journalism on what's been happening with the bot farms taking up all those tee times and stuff like that. But I just think that it's such a golf rich area in history and tradition. And there's now so many people that are migrating to like pretty much anybody now that lives in New York City and has disposable income wants to be in the Hamptons in the summer. And those people aren't exactly going to get to walk through the doors of Maidstone or National. Right. And so I just think like a more public golf in that area that we're both so fond of, like the demand is crazy, I feel like.
Definitely. I mean, I think it'd be a bit of a sell for some of the people positioning themselves in the Hamptons to drive what is probably an hour plus, depending on where in the Hamptons, to get to Timber Point. But
how far do you think it is from like Midtown New York?
I mean, traffic or no traffic?
No traffic.
I mean, so new traffic, I bet it could be done in under an hour.
Yeah.
You know, it's
that's like no problem for New York City golfers. New York City golfers will do that no problem.
Yes, and I mean, if they wanted to take the train out to that way, you know, there's a stop not terribly far away because it was built during a time when train was part of travel. So it's a tremendous opportunity in a site in a location that desperately needs it, because to your point, there's some of the greatest golf courses in the country, if not the world, down on that same coastline. But the public has zero chance of getting to those places. Yeah. So to have something, I won't say of equal caliber, but certainly in a proper discussion for a really great golf course throughout the country, not just locally, would be really great. And that's more or less the presentation to the county that is essentially being made is, you know, you have all this great golf here, but your constituents, Suffolk County residents, can't access it. You know, Bethpage is in Nassau County. Obviously, it's a state facility, so it's a little different. But, you know, there's certainly the demand for it. And, I mean, it was 6,700 yards in 1923. It's a proper-sized golf course. It has the ability to easily get well over 7,000 yards. I mean, listen, the U.S. Open's spoken for decades, you know, probably until we're dead. Okay, but that's not the only tournament that gets played each year. I mean, to see like a women's amateur or women's open there, it could easily host. It's a mass marketplace. It has accessibility to parking facilities because when they host events at Shinnecock or when they host events at Bethpage, you know, you're using Jones Beach and Robert Moses Park for parking and shuttle.
Yeah, like if they can host events at Liberty National, like come on.
Yes. I would happily swap out Timber Point for Liberty National for Timber Point without question. I mean, it just has such potential. Have you seen some of the photos?
Yeah.
The old sand scrub around some of those greens. I mean, it was wild.
Yeah.
It really was. So I'm again, it's years away, probably in best case scenario.
Who's your dream restoration architect there?
Well, I mean, I've been talking with a couple of them, so I don't know that I'm convinced that everybody in the discussion right now in this stage would do a really wonderful job. There are some that they each have a tremendous amount of benefit to them. So big picture, all the people in the discussion right now, I think would do a wonderful job. And, you know, you can't go wrong. The point is just to get this project off the ground. You know, get the green lights in what needs to be done, get the pricing structure, because, you know, the county could also grab some outside resident play. So, I mean, you know, Bethpage charges a premium for people who are non-state residents. Not that I really want to make this comparison, but I think it's necessary. Torrey Pines obviously gets, you know, a premium for non-residents. So I think it's an opportunity for the county as well as for golfers.
You'd absolutely get New York City golfers. You'd absolutely get New York City golfers for that distance. So yeah, I think that area, I would love kind of a second option to Bethpage somewhere around there, I think would be really, really fun. Or you could sign up for the Barstool Invitational and play Subonic, of course.
Yeah, I'm going to take a hall pass on that one.
Okay, so this golf course, we talked about it last time. Um, I'm cheating a little bit because I played it in November of 2024, and it has stayed with me in a way that I didn't expect. I'm talking about Old Barnwell. When I first played it, it was so much to take in. Like, it was just a really overwhelming golf experience. And it was the first round in a 4-day golf trip. And I went right into seeing a different great golf course in Tree Farm, which I also love, that I don't think I got to process Old Barnwell much. But then as time went on and I started thinking about it more, I kept being like, wait a minute. I remember pretty much every hole on that golf course, and every hole is such a standout. I feel like at least 50 to 60% of the holes at Old Barnwell, probably more, could be the signature hole on most golf courses. And so you almost have this sensory overload experience the first time you play. Like 6 is unbelievable. 7 is insane. 7 might be my favorite on the golf course. I mean, like, really, even 8 has one of my favorite. That stretch of 6 through 9 might be my favorite stretch on the entire property. But then you get to the back 9, and the back 9 is so overwhelmingly dramatic and exciting as well that you almost forget how great of a stretch that is when it would be the star of the show on 99% of other golf courses. So it feels like to me, like Brian Schneider and Blake Conan had been sitting on these ideas for a really long time. Like it felt like to me, like they were so ready to design this golf course, and that they had so many things that they had been thinking about and practicing and conceptualizing for such a long time. And then they got the piece of property, and they got the budget, and they got the free reign, and they just fucking sent it. And
Oh,
you play it for the first time and you're like, this is just a lot. And then you go back and think about it more, and it's like, gosh, this feels like so many years in the making of concepts and design philosophies. And there's so many great nods to Garden City and Hollywood and NGLA. And it's just really cool. I mean, it's a really, really cool place that I find myself thinking about quite often a year after playing it.
I, you know how I feel about that place, actually. A little bit right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wear it often. I love that place. I need to get back there as quickly as possible. I'm trying to figure out if I'll have time to do it when I'm down at Secession in January. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but I need to get back there. I love that place. Every bit of it. Every hole is memorable. Every hole has something unique. I mean, the criticism I hear but can't quite understand is, well, you know, some of those features are pretty intense. They're pretty bold, as if to say that's a bad thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what I love about that place. Like, don't tune that down. That's what it should be. Oh, well, they went a little wild on this. Yes, and it's great.
I mean, it really is. Like it didn't come off. It's not a goofy golf course.
I didn't think so.
No, it's not like you don't feel like you're playing, at a carnival by any means. Like there's subtlety to it as well. Like I think there's like certainly, I mean, talk about the 18th hole if you want to talk about restraint.
Mm-hmm.
They just and I heard this story on that as kind of a Heathland influence there, where a lot of Heathland holes is just like a very basic return to home and they wanted to exercise a lot of subtlety and restraint as a nod to Heathland golf, that the end of your round is a simple walk home, right? And I like that worked fine for me. Like it didn't totally bother me. I do think Tree Farm has a way more exciting, dramatic closing hole, where that 18th at Tree Farm might be one of the best holes, certainly on the golf course. But it's one of those golf courses that I only played it one time. And I feel like it's a course that I would uncover something new about it every single time I played it.
Well, that to me is the litmus test. You walk off a place once and you can remember that many holes. That says something. That puts it in rare company.
Yeah.
I mean, I not to keep going back to Muirfield, but played it twice. There's a handful of holes. I don't remember which they are.
And you see it on TV all the time, too.
I've seen it on TV for years.
Yeah.
But like, to accomplish that, yes, it's bold. Yes, it has really quirky and unique features, which you and I both love. But just the steeplechase aspect of it, the crazy internal contour, and I say crazy as a term of endearment on that, because you saw Scranton. I love Travis's wild greens.
Me too.
Now, have you been to Hollywood?
No, I'm dying to.
That's one you need to see. Next time
I played Garden City again this year, so I've played that now twice. But no, I mean, I'm dying to see Hollywood. I'm dying to see Cape Arundel. I want to see every golf course that Walter Travis has touched, without a doubt.
You need to see North Jersey.
I'm dying to see North Jersey. Have you seen Country Club of Troy?
Yes, I did see that after you and I talked. And Yanandassis.
Yeah.
Yanandassis has an equally intense 18th green.
Yeah. Have you seen Round Hill?
I've not seen Round Hill yet. I'm trying to get there this year.
Yeah.
That's not just Travis, though.
No,
right?
It's not. And whoever designed it with him is escaping me. It's not
Was it H.H. Barker during that time period, or
could have been?
Okay.
I can effort it in a second, but yeah, I mean, I obviously I can't say enough good things about Travis and Old Barnwell, and you probably brought up Hollywood because it's, gosh, what is it? The Hines hole, but
12.
I can't. It's 12.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and then they have an homage to both the first, and that come at different points in the rounds, but both the first and second holes at NGLA.
Exactly.
And I'm sure there's even more homages if I asked Brian Schneider and Blake, that I'm not even architecturally smart enough or well-traveled enough to even know or see, that I would uncover later. That, if I was more well-traveled and played more, I'm sure, of the Heathland golf courses, there's probably even more callbacks to that.
I would assume so. I believe the 10th was in some inspiration with Myopia.
Yeah.
I've
never played Myopia, but I mean, it's and they do it in a way that doesn't feel stale, doesn't feel copied. Yeah, I mean, I just can't say enough good things about the golf course in terms of like how it kind of elevated in my brain over time, the more that I thought about it. Do you want to finish with any, do you have anything on the books for 2026 that you're really excited about, or any like realistic, I'm not talking about bucket list stuff. I'm talking about like realistic places that you look forward to, that when we'll talk plenty before then, but when we podcast reconvene in 2026, are goals for you?
So I am playing Secession in January. It's a place I've wanted to see for a while. Excited about that one. Have an Iowa trip set up to see the Big Four out that way. So Cedar Rapids, Davenport, Wakanda, and Harvester.
Yeah.
Really excited about that trip, not only for those courses, but also good group of guys traveling with.
It's also just cool to like travel to different parts of the country that you're unfamiliar with. Like, I don't know the first thing about Iowa.
I was blasted as being a coastal elitist for having only played really, with the exception of some of the Ohio stuff, California.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. Most of the golf courses I play are in New York and California, which I'm working on. It's not cheap, but I'm working on it.
So that was the inspiration for getting that trip together, and I'm really excited to be shown those places. I should be able to see, although with the Open coming there this year, I don't know how he's going to quite pull this off. But even though I'm on Long Island and I'm trying to play every course on the island, I'm close. I've never played Shinnecock.
Yeah.
So I understand. I think it's going to happen this year. Fingers crossed, hopefully. But yeah, those are kind of the big ones. I want to spend a little more time focused on places like Round Hill, Tamarack, seeing some stuff that maybe not quite top tier stuff, that next run down in our area that I really haven't had the chance to get to. I want to see some more stuff in the Philly area, like Rolling Green and definitely need to get to Bitterman, even though that's not Philly area, but stuff more closely drivable.
Yeah.
So those are the hopefuls.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
For me, I have 1.5 trips locked in. The one that I have locked in is I'm going to Sand Valley with Fried Egg,
Nice.
which I'm really, really excited about. I have been trying to get to Sand Valley with my friends as a foursome for about a year, and I kept striking out in the lottery. And I kind of got to the point where I just want to see the Lido so badly that, would I rather try and go there alone and get on as a single or in a twosome, which I heard is a little bit easier than if you're trying to book a foursome ahead of time, or would I like to go with a bunch of like-minded folks at Fried Egg? That's a very easy decision. So I'm very excited to see Sand Valley and all their courses there. I mean, I've heard they're all pretty excellent. I'm doing that in August. And then kind of in conjunction with the Sand Valley trip is some of my closest friends have I've been really trying to get like a great golf trip on the books for 2026. And we kept striking out at Sand Valley and Bandon, which their booking process now and the demand there is a whole other podcast. But if we can save up a little bit of money, I don't think at this point the cost would be even that much greater to just go to Scotland, or England. I don't know. That might be a little bit out of our price range if we were to like stay in London and do that whole jaunt. But I think we're kind of at the point where we're just going to pivot to trying to go to Scotland. We're not getting on Bandon, and I already have Sand Valley for 2026. So I think those are kind of the two big ones that I'm super, super excited about because I got that Fried Egg trip on the books and I had to put the deposit down for that. Now it's kind of a little irresponsible for me to make this end of the year Florida trip that I'm not going to end up doing now, but I really want to see the park. I really am curious about it. I really want to see the park. I think it is like what public golf courses should be emulating, in more urban areas, like all over the country. And I just want to see it, as long as like, I do have some curiosity at like the South Florida arms race and like Apogee, High Grove, the ranch is being built, Kinsdale, like, I'm just, what's going on there? Are they all the same? What's the best? Like, is that a bubble? I'm just curious about some of what's going on in South Florida.
Well, I mean, with how many people transplanted from parts in the north down that way, I mean, it
probably during COVID it started.
It doesn't feel like it's bubblish.
Yeah.
In that, I think there's just a lot of people who now live there primarily, and there weren't as many courses in the area that would support that influx. I think they're just meeting the demand with that building.
I just didn't realize there was so many people living there that can afford $800,000 initiation fees.
Well, if you're selling your mansion up north and moving to a state tax free Florida,
Right.
maybe,
Right.
maybe.
Right. Right.
Yeah, no, that is fascinating. Obviously the Aiken area with 21 Club coming online soon, and Broom's Edge opened, and obviously we already talked about Tree Farm and Old Barnwell. So you have those two pockets of just real, golf development in a way that's not home sale based, or at least that's not fair to say, because Apogee absolutely is part of a residential development, but the courses are not lining the fairways. It's not the 70s, 80s, 90s residential development. It's more thoughtful in putting together core golf and having a residential component elsewhere. So I'm excited to see how some of that stuff in Florida plays out, just like I'm excited to get back down to that South Carolina area to see. I really can't wait to see when 21 Club opens. That's going to be phenomenal.
Does it open confirmed in 2026?
I don't think there's a confirmed open date. I think they were, I could be way wrong here. I thought they were targeting closer to 27.
Yeah. Aren't they building a second golf course at Old Barnwell too?
So there's already the kids course, and then the Gilroy
The
is going
Gilroy.
to be the
That's right.
second 18.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
that
exciting.
whole development is such a the way in which they've gone about building the golf first and then the other stuff, I think really sets them up well. Also doesn't hurt to have, deep pockets of ownership funding it.
Yeah.
It's usually a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah.
I can't believe we didn't talk about this one other thing though.
Okay. Hit me.
I played Oak Hill.
What'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. I think to your point with Andrew Green, now seeing Scioto, seeing Inverness, which I love, and seeing Oak Hill, all three Ross, all three Andrew Green, I think he has done a wonderful job at all three of those places. And I'm not, as you well know, a big fan of tournament golf courses, but both Inverness and Oak Hill are tournament courses that I would be happy to play on a regular basis.
Yeah, obviously I'm a little biased with Oak Hill, but I feel like I'm pretty fair about it. I think it's a little overrated in the rankings. It moved up 9 spots to 60 in the world, which I felt was a little steep for me. I will tell you this. I mean, did you play West?
Didn't get a chance to play the West.
I play that just as much as East. When I obviously like everyone wants to play, everybody wants to play East, and East is a different level of golf course than West, but I think you would really enjoy West in the same way that we both enjoyed Country Club of Buffalo.
I definitely need to get back up there and to see also, I believe it's Tyler Ray that's working at Monroe. If you've not played Monroe,
I've heard it's excellent.
He was he was changing some grassing lines on some of the fairways that definitely needed. I'm committing to Tyler Ray. I'm fairly confident it is him who's doing the work there. But that's a really fun one that I saw 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. So hopefully some of that work's done. So maybe this summer we'll get up there, hit both of those.
That'd be excellent. That'd be a blast. Andrew, it has been an absolute pleasure as always. A lot of golf, hopefully, to be played for us in. How'd you like my friend Brian?
Oh, Brian was great.
He's the best, right?
I don't know. I don't know that he was prepared for some of my antics, but it was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed having him out, and he was happy to take your spot at piping when you.
That's right.
Blew us off for the creek. I mean, blew us off for Sleepy Hollow. Excuse me.
Okay, there's some more context there, but yeah, I'm so glad that that you got to meet him, and I knew you guys would have a blast. But
Brian's great. He's welcome. He's welcome back anytime.
But anyway, thank you again for joining me. This is one of my favorite podcasts that I do all year, and cheers to many more fun golf experiences in 2026. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me on again.